Hello and welcome to Seoul Rally Barbados 2022. The event returns after a one-year hiatus due to the COVID pandemic. The return of the island's Blue Ribbon event would correspondingly lead to the return of the rally show, which would give the fans and the teams the opportunity to meet each other prior to the rally start. The rally show in recent years has grown in popularity and is now a sought-after event on the motorsport calendar. The return of Seoul Rally Barbados also means the return of the King of the Hill, which runs as a precursor event and formally decides the seeding order as well. This year the King of the Hill consisted of 88 teams who competed for the fastest time over 4 official runs throughout the day. The event would maintain its on-the-edge-of-your-seat characteristics with some unseasonal weather, making each run necessary to capitalise on the varying conditions. The event concluded with a number of unique outcomes. Firstly, Zane Maloney would end the day fastest overall and make him the youngest winner of the event's 13-year history, and it would be the first time a non-WRC classed vehicle would win the event. So setting the tone for Seoul Rally Barbados, fans would eagerly await to see if Zane could repeat this and replicate Ken Block's 2020 win in an R5. So, on to the main event. Seoul Rally Barbados would start from Seoul Spite's town service station in the parish of St. Peter. The event would consist of 82 teams who would trek to the first stages following a ceremonial start. Over on the stages themselves, fans were out in their droves after the one-year absence of the event, and considering that COVID protocols had recently been relaxed to allow for maskless outdoor events, they were making the most of it. Day 1 of Seoul Rally Barbados would consist of 3 venues: the Automotive Art Kendall stage, the Banks Beer stage, and finally the Cure Pickering stage. So with that in mind, let's head straight into the action and have a look at the top 10 overall and top 3 of each class at the end of Day 1. First up, Roger Hill and Graham Gittins, who would finish Day 1 10th overall and 6th in the competitive R5 class. King of the Hill third place finisher Frank Bird was sitting in 17th overall after a dismal special stage 3, but managed to crawl his way back to 9th overall at the end of Day 1.
Let us know where you're watching from.
8th overall and 1st in Modified 4 would be the team of Mark Thompson and Kurt Sebra. The team of Andy Scott and Tom Woodburn would consistently maintain a 7th overall and 3rd in class over Day 1. Sixth overall and 4th in Class R5 would be the pair of Rob Swan and Darren Garrett. A strong performance considering this wasn't the car they intended to do the event in as of a couple of weeks prior. Ending Day 1 in the best overall position they had achieved all day would be the team of Kevin Proctor and co-driving ace Patrick Walsh in 5th overall and 2nd in the WRC class. 4th overall and 3rd in Class R5 would be Josh Reed and Barry Ward. Dare I say an unexpected performance considering this was the team's 2nd outing in the car. We caught up with Josh to get his thoughts about his performance after the first day.
Not extracted any potential from the car yet, so I think we're in a good place right now, so just want to try and stay consistent and gradually progress. I'm driving at a level I feel comfortable. I'm not trying to push much harder than that. Learning the braking points of the car, learning how it turns. You know, I'm still sometimes I'm overdriving some corners, getting some understeer, getting some oversteer, so I have to find a balance of just that, but that's again, it's just a learning curve for me right now, so I want to take the same approach as before, enjoy the stages, and see if I can start to improve the times a little bit.
Continuing to show strong performance after their King of the Hill win was Zane Maloney and Craig Yearwood in 3rd overall.
First car 1.
With only 3 stage wins throughout the day, nonetheless maintaining podium stage finishes in the rest, Dane Skeet and Tyler Mayhew would finish the day 2nd overall and 1st in the WRC class. With 6 stage wins to their names, Stuart Maloney and Christian Yearwood would finish the day 1st overall and of course 1st in the R5 class. Here is the pair on a hard push on the treacherous Dark Hole stage. So with all that in mind, let's have a look at the top 3 performances in each class for day 1. Behind Mark Thompson and 2nd in the Modified 4 class would be the pair of Ian and Cameron Barkley, taking a measured approach for most of the day. Then coming 3rd in Modified 4 would be the event usual Peter Gallagher with local co-driver Reen Ford. Finishing the day 17th overall, but 1st in the competitive Modified 3 class would be the pair of Justin Campbell and Ayrton Bannister. Runner-up to Campbell would be Ian Warren, who had a dismal start and at one point was down to 61st overall, but valiantly fought back to end the day 35th. Under some pressure, but finishing the day 1st in Modified 1 would be the competitive pair of Ed Corbin and Jonathan Elaine. Putting that pressure on Corbin would be Jermaine Pope, who would finish the day 2nd in group and put on a grand show for the fans. Putting in one of his best performances to date, Pierre Clark with his Honda Civic would finish the day 3rd in the Modified 1 class. After their 2019 DNF, the father and son pair of Adrian and Dominic Linton were pleased to have finished day 1, but prouder to finish 1st in Super Modified 2. 2nd in Super Modified 2 was Jonathan Still and Heath Hazel, who were still getting to grips on their new build. A little ironically, 3rd overall in Super Modified 2 would be Wayne Archer in the old BMW M3 of Jonathan Still. Moving on to Clubman 2, and 1st in the hotly competitive group would be Sean Corbin and Emily Kinch in their Bimmer Cup car. 2nd in Clubman 2 by a whisker would be the pair of Ryan Wood and Miranda Ho. Having a good time and finding it hard to reduce the flamboyant driving style was Michael Worm and Daniel Small, who would muster up a performance to end the day 3rd in Clubman 2. Over to Clubman 3, where Greg Cozier and Natasha Farnham would finish the day with a commanding 1st in group, with their closest rival some 8 positions behind. 2nd in Clubman 3 group would be Stuart Garcia, which would see him 30th overall with a consistent performance for most of the day. An RX-8 is not something you normally see rallying, especially in the Caribbean, but the pair of Howard and Ruth Patterson would illustrate its capabilities with a 3rd in Clubman 3 at the end of day 1. Historic 2 would have an overseas team top 3 lockout, with Chris Shooter and Bev LeGood in their Ford Escort RS 200 Mark II finishing the day 1st in class. 2nd in Historic 2 would be Sean Kukula and Emma Arthur, who at one point had been 51st overall but managed to finish the day 39th. Rounding out the top 3 in the Historic 2 group was Robin Hamilton in his impressive Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. Over in Super Modified 1 and successfully battling suspension limitations for most of the day would see Tremaine Ford Catwell 1st in the group. 2nd in Super Modified 1 at the end of day 1 would be Marcel Freeling in his MG ZR. To catch Tremaine, Marcel would have some serious driving to do on day 2. The consistent driving of Darren Lashley would see him 3rd in Super Modified 1 and keen on progressing on day 2 to improve his group finish. Sole finisher in the B1 group was Calvin Briggs, who if making it to the overall finish would obtain one of his best finishes in recent memory. Another Seoul Group finisher was Jason Tull in his Clubman 1 Peugeot. Jason looked confident throughout the day, notwithstanding that his main challenger would be his overall standing. Looking like he was now fully into his new Toyota GT86 was Neil Corbin, who would end the day first in Modified 2. Second in Modified 2, with one of the most immaculate looking cars, was the team of Ian Pip Coulson and Johnny Haynes in their Ford Focus. Proving that consistency was key to doing well in Seoul Rally Barbados, John Carroll and Kareem Gaskin would finish the day third in Modified 2. Out to have a good time, but setting the pace overall, would be Andrew Graham, who would finish the day first in Group B2. So with a full day's action behind us, let's take a closer look at the top 10 overall times. Before going into day 2, we caught up with a few drivers to get a sense of their day 1 challenges and situations which would shape their entire rally. One such driver was the young Benjamin Hartling.
Yeah, I mean, I can't lie, the car is amazing. It's quite a piece of machinery, but just getting to grips with what the machine can do, right? Like, so trusting the braking, trusting the speed through the corners. But unfortunately, the lack of seat time, I went to pull the handbrake through the Kendall cut rock, and it just moved a lot more than I'm used to. With the Citroen, I could kind of feather it, but with this one, you know, the diffs fully unlock, and I had it loaded up and turned in, it just swung around, and 8 more inches I might have made it out of there, but I clipped the cut rock, bent the back wheel, and just kind of decided to retire instead of hurt the car more.
We also caught up with fellow countryman Paul Horton, who was still in the overall running and had finished day 1 14th overall.
How was yesterday? Yesterday was pretty good. To be honest, I was a little bit despondent on the day, as in I thought I could do better, but I think I'm just trying to think ahead of myself rather than be where I am and working with Matt. So, but after spending the night looking at it, going over what we did, we were pretty happy with the whole performance, because I'm trying to look at myself against other people who've done a lot more, had a lot more seat time, done a lot more rallying. So overall, happy when I look at it like that, and really, you know, there was a lot of great points in there, and a lot of points we've got to tidy up. They weren't mistakes, they're just like fine-tuning where we need to be.
On to day 2, and spectators gather on all vantage points for what would be one of the closest Rally Barbados restarts in recent memory. Making it into the top 10 overall on day 2 after a not so good end on day 1 was the pair of Andrew Malalou and Jeffrey Goddard, who had finished 10th overall and 6th in group. Showing that consistency is the best way to do well at Rally Barbados, Thomas Preston and Carl Williamson would finish the rally 9th overall. With an impressive comeback from his day 1 finish, Mark Maloney would end the day as the sole finisher from the Maloney Racing Team and 8th overall. Third in group and 7th overall would be Roger Hill and Graham Gittins, with a respectable overall finish which the pair have been proud to achieve. Sixth overall and first in Group Modified 4 would be Mark Thompson and Kurt Siebra, who would, with some luck, complete the final stage. In hot competition with fellow countryman Kevin Proctor, Andy Scott would finish day 2 of the event 5th overall and 3rd in group. Here is what Andy had to say about the stages.
Yeah, yesterday was real good. I mean, I was comfortable on Kendall, I was comfortable on Pickering's, but we struggled like hell on Dark Hole. Kevin, who obviously I'm here close trying to race against, he showed me about 10 seconds every time in there. And eventually on this last run through we found a setup on the car, so hopefully this last run through Dark Hole will be on the pace.
Winning the personal rivalry between himself and Andy Scott, Finishing 4th overall and 2nd in group, it wouldn't be the best finish Kevin Proctor would have hoped for, but he'll be pleased to have secured it at the end of day 2. Certainly as a consolation to their King of the Hill retirement, the pair of Rob Swam and Darren Garrod will finish 2nd in the R5 group and 3rd overall. Prior to this event, no one would have considered Josh Reed as a podium contender for an R5 or event honours, but his 2nd overall and 1st in group certainly dispelled that notion. As if the 2019 Rally Barbados results were a mere glitch, Dane Skeet and Tyler Mayhew would finish on the top spot, regaining their sole Rally Barbados title and equally keeping the event's title sponsor happy. But before we go, here is a look at the top 3 honours of each group. Only 2nd to Mark Thompson, Ian Barclay would finish day 2 2nd in Modified 4 after putting in a respectable performance. As if this car had not been a bare shell the day before, Justin and the team were able to put it all together both off and on the stages to take an overall win in Modified 3 and fastest 2-wheel drive. Coming home 2nd in Modified 3 would be Ian and Robert Warren with a respectable 24th overall. Continuing winning ways even after moving on from their trusty Toyota Starlet, but staying loyal to the brand would be Neil Corbin and Matthew Snafter in their Toyota GT86. Englishman John Carroll and the local Kareem Gaskin would secure Modified 2, notwithstanding some challenges throughout the event though. After a hard-fought battle for most of the event, Ed Corbin and Jonathan Lane would take overall honours in Modified 1 and 15th overall. 2nd in Modified 1, after keeping Ed Corbin honest for most of the event, would be Jermaine Pope and Aaron Curtin. With his best result in recent memory, Pierre Clark would finish 3rd in Modified 1, showing there's still much to be dished out for the Civic. Picking up from where they left off on day 1, Adrian and Dominic Linton would finish day 2 1st in Super Modified 2 and 18th overall. 2nd in Super Modified 2 and quite pleased with his new build was Jonathan Still, who had indicated that there was still much to be done to get the car to where he wanted it to be. Taking the last spot in Super Modified 2 and best recent result would be the pair of Stuart McCleary and Julian Goddard. If putting in the work were a person, it would be the team of Sean Corbin and Emily Kinch who would take overall honours in Clubman 2, holding off Ryan Wood by the closest of margins throughout day 2. Not pulling off the group win this time around, but having an enjoyable rally for the most part would be Ryan Wood and Miranda Ho with their 2nd in Clubman 2. 3rd in Clubman 2 would be Michael Worm and Daniel Small, despite having challenges throughout the event. 1st in Clubman 3 would be Greg Cozier and Natasha Farnham, who appeared to have not put a foot wrong for the entire weekend. Finishing in a respectable 2nd place in the Clubman 3 group was Stuart Garcia and Rashid Smith, who had indeed shown a considerable amount of improvement throughout the event. 3rd in Clubman 3 would be Howard and Ruth Patterson in their Mazda RX-8. Ending the week leading a foreign competitor lockout of Historic 2 would be Chris Shooter and Bev LeGood. 1st runner-up in Historic 2 would be Sean Kukula and Emma Arthur with a consistent performance for most of the weekend. Rounding out the podium in Historic 2 in their well-built Talbot Sunbeam Lotus was Robin Hamilton and Steve McNulty. A mature drive would see Fabian Clark and Arlington Hoyt finish the challenging event 1st in Super Modified 1. 1st in Group B1 would be the pair of Calvin Briggs and Anderson Bannister in their V6 Ford Sierra, whose consistent and steady push for this event proved to be the successful approach. Forever in the hearts of Barbadians, Andrew Graham and Gavin Neat finished the event 1st in Group B2 and entertained the Barbadians on every corner. Rounding things up would be Jason Tull and Omar Archer taking a win in Clubman 1. So with the event drawn to a close, let's remind ourselves the top 10 overall for Seoul Rally Barbados 2022. And that's it. An end to another exciting Seoul Rally Barbados, with the result maintaining the status quo some pundits had incorrectly predicted. We do hope you enjoyed this video and this year's action. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe for some exciting upcoming content. I have been Chris Reardon, thank you for watching, ciao for now.